An inside source says that Kewan Lacy is obviously the starting running back. So let's break that down.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast around. I am your host, Steven Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media and a former Ole Miss staff member. On today's show, it is time for an insider's mailbag, answering some great questions from our subtext community. If you're interested in that, the link is down below. And later, what should we expect from Austin Simmons in week 1 against Georgia State? Can he give us a glimpse of Eli Manning back in 2001? Or is it going to be something a little bit more difficult than that? But we're starting with the running backs. Kewan Lacy looks to have wrapped up the starting job, according to a source. And I tell you why that is not only a great thing, but a great thing for this team. But also why he's good enough to thrive in the system as it stands. Then we'll break down the roles of the other running backs and how this whole room is shaping up. We're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day, and a special hello to the insiders and everydayers who make the show what it is, and that is simply the most fun way to follow Ole Miss sports. Do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel or the audio podcatcher and comment on the video. Also, leave a 5-star review on the audio side. You can say whatever you want to. Just leave a 5-star review. It costs nothing, but makes all of this and keeps it free. If you want even more than that, the Insiders program is in the subtext link down below. No trolls, 14-day free trial, and the easiest way to cancel ever. Give it a try. And don't forget to check out a second listen on the network. Nearly every team, college or pro, is ready for you. And coming up, in Ole Miss trivia, the clue is Eli Manning's debut as a starter. That's the clue. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, all one word, at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So my source that I have inside the Manning Center was talking the other day and said that Kewan Lacy is obviously the starter at running back. And it's not particularly close. And that kind of jives with Lane Kiffin calling him electric a little bit earlier in camp. That jives with Kewan Lacy being the social media star in the spring. It has been basically all headed towards the direction of Kewan Lacy getting the first carry against the Georgia State Panthers next week. But the question is he good enough for that role? Running the ball is going to be of crucial importance for Ole Miss this season. It's not going to be like Quinshon Judkins and Zach Evans run the ball. It's not going to look like that. It's not going to have to look like that. But running the ball, especially when the other team knows that it is coming, it is going to be of the utmost importance that it gets done and gets done correctly. And is Kewan Lacy good enough for that role? Now, he is a transfer from Missouri. He ended up signing with the Missouri Tigers, transferring to Ole Miss. And he transferred to Ole Miss because, if we're going to be real about it, Ole Miss recruited the heck out of him out of high school. He's out of Lancaster, Texas. He's an elite running back. His highlights in high school, it just looks good. He's that typical Texas-style running back with the excellent contact balance, the explosivity that he has, the ability to go side for side, excellent feet, can catch the ball out of the backfield. He has a chance to be the most electric back in this backfield. And that is the reason why, in my opinion, he has won the job to be the starter. Now, that's not necessarily the case. Starters are weird. There's semantic games that you can play, but I think the first carry in the Georgia State game is going to go to Kewan Lacy. Who knows with Lane Kiffin? He could put Dominic Thomas out there, somebody that we haven't necessarily been even paying attention to. But I genuinely believe it's going to be Kewan Lacy, and my source says it's pretty much a foregone conclusion. I think Kewan Lacy at running back gives Ole Miss that home run hitter that they didn't have a year ago. And that includes Ulysses Bentley IV, who had a long run against LSU and a really long run against Mississippi State in the most hilarious fashion possible. But the general run-of-the-mill running back, Ole Miss is going to have an explosive back for the first time, but also somebody that can do the first, second, and third down stuff, the little things correctly. It's going to be a big year for Kewan Lacy. He has all of the ability in the world, the size in the world. He has a chance to be potentially the best running back that Ole Miss has had since Lane Kiffin has been here. And yes, I realize Zach Evans and Quinshon Judkins exist. Kewan Lacy has special talent, and he has shown it at the high school level. He would have played at Missouri as a true freshman, but Missouri had some upperclassmen, and if you know Eli Drinkwitz, he is very big on the particulars of running that stretch zone play. He's really good at it. And Kewan Lacy, it was just taking a little bit of time. It didn't work out. Ole Miss finished second for that recruitment. He ended up transferring here. And I always say, and I've been saying for multiple years, if you've heard this show more than 3 times, you've heard me talk about it is more important to finish in the top 2 than it is to actually get the kid. In this current transfer portal, NIL, the whole 9 yards, whenever you're roster building, high school recruiting, the first 2 is the most important thing rather than actually landing the prospect. Now, Logan Diggs is a really, really good back. He is. I haven't heard his name very often, but you've seen clips on social media, and Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss doesn't put players on social media unless they're doing all the right things. So Logan Diggs is going to play, and he's going to play a lot. And I've also heard from my source that Damian Taylor has been the short yardage running back because of the physicality in which he runs. This is shaping up to look like 2020 and 2021, to where there's 3 running backs with clearly defined roles that come in for the Ole Miss Rebels and help out Austin Simmons as he is trying to become the focal point of this offense. Listen, we talk about the scrimmage, and I get there were reports about the offensive line at the last 2 scrimmages, essentially. But do you know what you didn't hear that last scrimmage? In scrimmage number 2, you did not hear anything about Xavion Harris. You didn't hear anything about William Eccles. And that is because the interior of the offensive line did a decent job in the run game and the pass game. They had trouble on the edge, and that's going to be where Ole Miss has to get things fixed. That's where the questions lie. The stretch zone plays and stuff like that. But the middle of the offensive line actually performed relatively well. And I asked a couple of people that saw the scrimmage that described the O-line as holding up. That's how they described them. Now, they also said that once the 2 offensive line came in there, they got overrun. So whenever it was the 2 offensive line against the 1 defense, yes, Suntaran Perkins, Prince Will, and Monmi Ellen had their way. The structure of the scrimmage allows the coach to kind of dictate who has good and bad days. And it was not a good day for the 2s in Saturday's scrimmage. Now, this weekend will be a mock game. And a mock game is a scrimmage, but it's about everything but the football on the field. It's about substitution patterns. It's about the structure of how things get done. It's the coaches in the booth talking down to the coaches on the field to figure out if the right guys are where they need to be. It is about setting up substitutions for special teams. So you make sure there's no, structural errors going in there whenever you're trying to substitute into special teams. You're going to hear about statistics. You're going to hear about offensive line. You're going to hear about all of that stuff. But the reality is the 1 offense is going to go generally against the service team on defense, and the 1 defense is going to go against the service team on offense, because it's about everything but the game. This is something we did when Ed Orgeron was the coach at Ole Miss. You do a mock game, all of this stuff, a dress rehearsal going into that Saturday. So Saturday, you're not going to be able to tell that much. Fall camp essentially ends tomorrow. And after that, school's going to get started and they're going to get ready to go. But Kewan Lacy taking over the starting part, the running back room at Ole Miss is a good thing. It doesn't mean he's going to get 30 carries, though. They're going to substitute pretty liberally, but the first carry sounds like it's going to be Kewan Lacy. And I, for one, am pretty excited about that. Anyway, what will Austin Simmons look like in his debut? And how can Lane Kiffin make it feel like Eli Manning's first start way back in 2001? We will explain what to watch for and why that comparison matters next. You know, most people can't name their financial accounts and they can't even say what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you end up leaving money on the table. That is why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch does all the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I linked all of my accounts on Monarch and immediately spotted a few subscriptions that I wasn't even using. Canceling those alone saved me money. Don't let this financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, at Monarch Money in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONCollege. You know, if you're running a business, every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you needed a service. And if the first person didn't answer, did you wait? Probably not. You moved on. That is why you need Open Phone, so you never miss an opportunity to connect with your customers. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system developed and designed to streamline and scale your customer communications. Do you juggle 2 phones just to keep business and personal calls separate? Open Phone solves that problem instantly. Your whole team can share one number and respond to customers like a shared inbox. No more who's handling this. And the AI agent handles after hours calls, answers common questions, and captures leads so you never miss a customer again. See why over 60,000 businesses trust Open Phone. They're offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedoncollege. That is openphone.com/lockedoncollege. They'll even port over your existing numbers for free. Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers. With about a week and a half away from the debut of Austin Simmons, the time has come to ponder exactly what that is going to look like for Ole Miss. We've heard all the stories, all the hype. I personally believe Austin Simmons is one of the most talented quarterbacks, if not the most talented quarterback to ever put on the red and blue. But he still has to do it. And there's 2 quarterback cases over the last 25 or so years that are interesting to think about, because Lane Kiffin at this point, how is he going to maximize Austin Simmons against Georgia State? And the benefit of this is the best way to do it is by Austin Simmons not trying to be Jackson Dart, not trying to be Matt Corral, just trying to be Austin Simmons and performing at a high level. If he does that, he is going to be absolutely fine. In 2001 was probably the most anticipated debut of a quarterback at Ole Miss ever. It was Eli Manning. It was his redshirt sophomore year. There's a lot of parallels between Eli and Austin Simmons. Eli Manning had a fantastic game. I'm not going to give the stats, but Eli Manning ended up with a big win over Murray State and looked increasingly good doing it, all with Archie Manning and Eli Manning and Peyton Manning and all the Mannings in attendance. This was a big moment for the Manning family. Manning set records that lasted until last year, essentially, when Jackson Dart broke nearly every single one of them. Romaro Miller was a great quarterback for Ole Miss, a big-time player. Ole Miss likely doesn't turn around without the work that Romaro Miller did. Romaro Miller going to Eli Manning is really similar to Jackson Dart going to Austin Simmons. The football program's in a completely different place, and right now Ole Miss has won 10 games, 3 out of the last 4 years. But Austin Simmons has done everything that has been asked of him. Everything. Listen, this is the schedule. This is how it sets up for Austin Simmons. This is why the Georgia State game is so important. If he can have that big moment, if Lane Kiffin can ease him into it to where he gets into a rhythm and starts performing and building the confidence, Georgia State could be a big game for Austin Simmons, statistically, win-wise, and confidence starting-wise. Because the next week you go to Kentucky, and Jackson Dart threw for about a combined 250 yards against the Kentucky Wildcats over 2 appearances. Both games involved Hemingway Stadium. Austin Simmons, the way he does it, I think that might be a little bit of kryptonite against the Kentucky Wildcats. They're big on not giving up the big passes. Austin Simmons taking what's available, taking the access throws. There's a chance that he is going to look pretty good. Last season, Austin Simmons had a really good year. Better numbers than Eli Manning. Better numbers than Matt Corral. 19-32, 282 yards, and 2 touchdowns for the backup quarterback out of Pahokee High School in Florida. Austin Simmons graduated high school 2 years early. He graduated college 2 years early. And now his moment is right there to happen. Listen, I'm expecting Austin to really show out, but Lane Kiffin, and it will be up to him to put Austin in the best possible situation. I get that Austin Simmons and the Ole Miss Rebels went for it against the Georgia Bulldogs in 2024 when Austin was on the field. Ole Miss picked up a first down pretty famously, if we're going to be honest about it. But Austin Simmons needs to get in the rhythm. It's about confidence building, because the flip side of this, as far as quarterback hype goes, everybody remembers how hyped Michael Spurlock was as a quarterback. Strong arm, super speed, a true dual threat quarterback, somebody that can do absolutely everything. He came out against the Memphis Tigers as the kickoff of the 2024 or the 2004 season and just did not look good. There is a pass he threw in the back of the end zone that hit the wall that I can still hear how loud it was. That season at that point, in that moment, got derailed. And Michael Spurlock was never the quarterback that we thought he was going to be, and he had the talent to be. Now, that was before spread offenses. That was before a lot of stuff. Michael Spurlock in modern football would be very good. But in that system, it ended up not just being a fit. And when you look at the difference of the Eli Manning to the person that succeeded Eli Manning, you have Michael Spurlock. And against the Memphis Tigers, that was a little bit of a bad day. I remember that. That was my first Ole Miss game that I went to after I got out of the Navy. I got out of the Navy that summer and got back, got season tickets. We are so excited. Michael Spurlock is going to be the best. And that game happened. So Lane Kiffin has to avoid that 2024 Memphis game or the 2004 Memphis game, and he needs to try and build the 2001 Murray State game. If you can do that, that's a tale of 2 season openers, but it's going to be important for Lane Kiffin to try and manufacture the ladder there. The 2001 Murray State game will be absolutely huge for Austin Simmons as a benchmark to look at. Likely Austin's going to end up somewhere in the middle, but you should try for perfection, essentially. And that game was nearly perfection for Eli Manning. So that was really interesting and something that I'm kind of looking forward to as well. You know, in our final segment, we're going to dive into the Insider's Mailbag, answering the biggest questions about this Ole Miss football team that absolutely have to be addressed. That and Ole Miss trivia next. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football prediction into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up, and the college football season is not far behind. Whether you got your eye on big name quarterbacks or breakout running backs, Prize Picks makes it easier to get in on the game. Maybe there's just a hard knocks happening right now, but I'm a huge Josh Allen guy right now, and I think this might be the year for the Buffalo Bills. We'll talk about that in the FanDuel read in just a second. I like the Buffalo Bills this year. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play that first $5 lineup. That's LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, run your game. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. That's kind of this show, right? For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on all NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling for an MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champion before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. So take a flyer on the MVP race. I like Jayden Daniels. I think Jayden Daniels is going to have a fantastic year. Maybe you can crown your champion in August. Like I said, maybe it's the hard knocks, but this feels like Buffalo's year. Or parlay your division winner dark horses like the Miami Dolphins or the New Orleans Saints. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets right now, because Futures Day is only one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. The Insiders Club has really grown over the last couple of months, and especially since fall camp started and we started dropping on there football tidbits and things that we are hearing, rumors behind the scenes, all of that stuff. It's available to you. The link is down below. It's a 14-day free trial. It is the easiest cancellation you've ever had, and it is fantastic. But it is about time that we did a Insiders podcast mailbag on the show. I'm pretty excited about that, and a couple of great friends that have been basically on the Insiders program for a very long time. They immediately replied with questions. We have Floyd Franks on there, who is Archie Manning's old receiver famously, but they are all in the Insiders program. There is no trolls. Like I said, a 14-day free trial, and the easiest cancellation that you could have on a pay site is $5 per month. If you need to look at it as a valuable expense, view it as a tip, because that's probably less than you pay for the tip when you eat out. So let's do the Insiders mailbag right here on the Locked On Ole Miss. We start off with Stan in Nashville, Tennessee. He asked the question, how concerned about the O-line should we be? And honestly, that's the question that's running around the fan base right now. Everybody wants to get upset. They're trying to get agitated. The offensive line is the rage bait material currently for the Ole Miss fan base. We did a segment of yesterday's show about whether or not Ole Miss fans should panic about the offensive line, hearing that the scrimmage didn't necessarily go their way. Well, my opinion on that is no, patience is required. There's still a week and a half until the first game, and it's coming out to where it's not as bad as it was first relayed. Are some players nicked up? Yes, but Lane Kiffin mentioned that it wasn't long-term injuries for anybody. And PJ Wilkins is almost coming back. He's ready to go. And whenever that happens, I think the ideal for the first part of the season, as long as Bryson Sanders does a good job snapping the football, but left tackle Diego Pounds, left guard either PJ Wilkins or Delano Townsend, whoever's healthy, right guard Patrick Kudus, and left tackle Jaden Williams. I think that's what they want. But the offensive line needs to get past the nicked up stage of what's going on. I think they're going to be fine. You have a little bit of a ramp, but not that much of one. So it will be important that they get back on the field. Jerry in Memphis, Tennessee asks, how good are the safeties picking up what they need to be doing? It sounds like pretty good. You're hearing less and less about the safety room as fall camp has gone on. And usually that means that they're starting to get ironed out, because you hear about players and positions in fall camp for two reasons. Either one, they're completely standing out, or B, they're a problem area. That's the reason you hear all about the offensive line currently. But it sounds like they are picking them up, and TJ Banks coming back to practice, that's a big move. That's a really big move. I think the defensive backs are going to be just fine. B. Brown coaching that unit I have all the confidence in him, honestly. All right. Who will be the big play wide receiver in the 2025 in the passing game? That is John in Winona, Mississippi. John, I genuinely think the big play receiver for Ole Miss this season is going to be Harrison Wallace III. He is the speed guy. He's the Mike Wallace guy on this team. Deshaun Stribling, Cayden Lee, Daquan Wright, they're all going to do a lot of work, and they're going to distribute the football around. You may not have three receivers with 900 yards, but what you may have are five receivers with 600 yards or something like that. So that's something to keep an eye on. But I think Harrison Wallace the third, that's the name that you need to pay attention to. Deshaun Stribling and Cayden Lee. Cayden Lee couldn't lead the conference in receptions. Deshaun Stribling could lead the receivers in yards per catch. But the big play guy, I think that is going to be Harrison Wallace the third. In Ole Miss trivia today, we are talking about Eli Manning's debut as the Ole Miss quarterback. Ole Miss opened up the 2001 season with Murray State, which would be the starting debut for Eli Manning. It was the most anticipated start until Austin Simmons takes the field against the Georgia State Panthers. How many consecutive completions did Eli Manning have? And bonus, how many touchdown passes did he have on that night? So put your answer in the comments down below. We will put out the answer on social media later today. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves on offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we are the front door of Ole Miss. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment. It helps the show, and it is completely free. Your support means the world to us. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes around college football's landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hotty toddy, everybody. And remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. We'll see you tomorrow.